Hello, my name is Kiel Kondrick, host of the Vista's Above the Fold podcast, and today I have with me Jeff Elkins to talk about his story about student loan debt. So thanks for coming, Jeff.
Glad to be here, man. This is something that affects me personally, and I really was eager to get here and talk about it today.
Yeah, for sure. I'm interested. Yeah.
For sure. Go ahead and hit me with whatever you got, man.
So your story was headlined "U.S. Student Loan Debt Soars to $1.6 trillion."
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it would be interesting to hear can you explain what student loan debt is? Like, what do we mean when we're talking about that?
So whenever you apply for federal student aid through FAFSA, you will get what's called your rewards. You receive your rewards, and generally within that there is a Pell Grant if you qualify, and then also included in that will be subsidized and unsubsidized loans. And you can take those. What those generally mean is they're through the government. They offer these, and they're loans that you might not be able to get through like a private lender. The subsidized loans will be subsidized through the government, which means that interest won't accumulate on those until after you've graduated.
Okay.
Whereas with an unsubsidized loan, interest will begin accumulating on those. However, it'll probably be at a little bit better interest rate than you would get from like a bank or a private loan.
Okay.
So when you look at all of the student loans that have been taken out, unsubsidized loans make up 46% of all student loans. So those are going to be the easiest ones to qualify for, and generally are going to be the ones that are the most taken out on a year-to-year basis.
Yeah. So I thought it would be interesting. It's not so much dollars, but I found this statistic where it was just kind of explaining the difference in how much a million is to a billion and to $1 trillion to kind of give that grasp of how large that is. So from birth to 1,000,000 seconds of age, it only takes about 11 to 12 days. And then from birth to 1 billion seconds old, it takes a little over 31 years. And then to get to 1 trillion seconds old, it's about 31,680 plus years. So I think that's a good kind of scope of how big 1 trillion is.
Yeah.
So what do you think some of the causes are for this rise that's we see right now?
Man, before we kind of assess the cause of that, I feel like it's important to really illustrate how much that money is. And when you think about $1 million stacked in hundreds, that's about as high as a 3-foot chair.
Yeah.
I think it's 3.3 feet, which is like the height of an average chair. And then you think about what $1 billion is. Well, $1 billion is higher than the Burj Khalifa, which is the tallest building in the world. So
Wow.
you've got stacks and stacks and stacks. And so 1.6 trillion, you've got to add 600 billion to that. So we're talking about like 950 miles high in $100 bills. So
Yeah.
we're quite literally astronomical numbers.
Yeah.
This is going into space and beyond the International Space Station. I think 3.8 times as high as the International Space Station. So it's just it's an amount of money that I don't think we even, after illustrating that, we can't even truly comprehend it. As far as what to do about it, man, we've there's legislation that's being worked on to forgive all student debt. Some of that's going to seem more extreme. I think if Bernie's plan were to go through, the federal government would lose $85 billion, which is 0.4% of the GDP.
Okay.
So I mean, you're gonna find a lot of people that are naysaying that being something that should be done. Seems a little bit too drastic. Oklahoma Congresswoman Kendra Horn actually is working on a few things. One is going to address private loans.
Okay.
Private loan interest rates can be sometimes as high as 17%. So what she's wanting to do is lower those, cap that interest rate at 5% on private loans. So I mean that's going to be enough interest and to pay for giving the loan, and
Right.
a very reasonable rate without making it such a burden that it's just going to bury the debtor.
So I thought it'd be interesting maybe to get some advice from you for potential college students or even current college students on what they can do to try to help minimize their own personal student debt and help lower that number, or at least keep it down.
Man, honestly, it's going to be just applying for every scholarship that you can. I heard word that this semester there's scholarships that there haven't been many applicants for. So there's definitely some that are out there for the taking where there might not be as much competition as one might initially assume.
Right.
So I would definitely advocate applying for scholarships. Try to, if it's possible, to save, before you start college or while you're in college. I understand that's really hard to do, especially if you're a full-time student. I mean, you're saving, 50, sometimes $100 a week, maybe even a pay period for 2 weeks. And so you think, how is that really going to add up and help? But it really can, man. If you can throw, $1,000 a year at your student loans, it'll really help.
Absolutely.
I think at the if you start borrowing at the freshman level at UCO at the average of like $37.50 or so a semester, you're going to end up with a good amount of debt. I think it's about $27,000, which is $27,000, I think $450 or something, which is lower than the national average, which is around like $29,000-$30,000.
That's good.
But yeah, so that would lead me to my next point. Think about maybe taking classes at a community college or a place where you can get the credit hours cheaper than at a bigger university. I did most of my schooling here at UCO, and it's reasonably priced per credit hour, but it has gone up significantly in the 7-8 years that I've been going here. So I would definitely advocate looking for ways to get credits out of the way, at another, maybe commuter school or something like that, and then transfer in when you're ready to take on a 4-year degree.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for, sharing all that information with me today.
No problem, Kyle. I appreciate you having me,
man.
man.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Above the Fold podcast. Tune in next week when we'll have our second episode this semester.